Hi, my name is Sujoy, and I'll be talking a bit about artificial intelligence, where we are heading towards with artificial intelligence, and how businesses can take advantage of artificial intelligence. As we know, artificial intelligence is not a new word now. Everybody knows what is artificial intelligence. But my objective for this particular demo is to show and explain where it can be utilized in different types of industries. Different industries have different use cases, and we will explain a bit of it for all the industries where you can think about as to how it can benefit you as we go through with the presentation. So, artificial intelligence, as we know, that it works 24 by 7, no emotions. Automations and repeated tasks are a perfect use case for artificial intelligence. So different industries have different repeated tasks, right? So every industry has their own repeated task. So those can be programmed, and AI can handle all of that. Personalizing the customer interaction, that is another very good use case of how AI can interact with customers. Data driven decisions, as we know that businesses are driven by data. So retrieving data, talking about a data, or texting in relation with the data is super fast with artificial intelligence. Humans cannot do that, right? If you have a lot of record and you need to dig into those information, it's a lot of work. So humans cannot do that. So when it comes to efficiency, there is nothing you can compare with artificial intelligence. So, having said that, we will try and explain where these artificial intelligence would be appropriate. Okay, so I'll go in between these two slides. The first one is an AI agent, which is a conversational agent, and the second one is the one which is the text. Okay, so I will pick up few of those, and you can always go through this for the rest of the presentation. I mean, you can pause here and keep reading the rest of it, but I will try and explain two or three cases from each of the scenarios. In the conversational AI, industries which are healthcare clinics or hospitals, they will find it very useful. Like patients prefer speaking directly for appointments, emergencies, or prescriptions. People prefer that, especially people who are aged, who have issues with reading or whatever, texting through phone. They will find it very useful. So conversational AI will play a very important role here. Law firms. Prospects explain cases better via voices. It will help to pre-qualify leads faster. So there are people, the law firm cases would be that if you have a case, say it's a car accident case, it happens in the evening on whatever day, and you're calling a law firm. So if you have a conversational AI, you can immediately capture his request irrespective of the time. It can be even at 9 o'clock in the evening. So what I'm trying to say here is the law firms will never lose out on any opportunity, especially with the help of conversational AI. The next one could be insurance agencies. It can process the claims and quotes, which are often complex and easier to explain verbally. There are a lot of things in the real world. It is easier to explain verbally than to write it down, right? So the same here, same holds here with artificial intelligence. We train the bot in such a way so that it makes the person who is listening, it makes it a very smooth interaction between the conversations, which happen very smoothly. It's a very smooth experience which you will get to see later on. Then comes the real estate. Agents uses voice calls to schedule property visits or qualify buyers. So these are some of the cases, but there are many more on the conversation side, but you can take a look at it as to where it can be very helpful. Going to the next one is the text. Text ones are very ideal for e-commerce and online retail stores. It handles product searches, returns, frequent asked questions, efficiency versus chats, and all those type of stuff. It can handle very efficiently when it comes to text. Technical support and SaaS platforms is another good use case for automated troubleshoots and ticket management, where you could be using a text workflow. Banking and fintech applications, where you are basically recording, it's a recordable chat for balance inquiries or transactions or alerts. On educational platform, you might be having it learns preferred task help for accessing modules and submitting tasks. So there are many more, but these are some of the very good use cases where industries could be using text versus conversational. Now going further down, here we are talking about where the use cases could be applicable and what could be their matrix for those use cases. This could be for both text and conversation, but it will be helpful when organizations are looking for lead generations. The key matrix will be the number of leads captured or conversational rates. The second case could be for customer support efficiency, where you're looking into support cost reduction and the response time. The third case could be sales enablement, where a chatbot is used to increase the average order values and the revenue uplifts. The fourth one could be brand engagement. It again depends from industry to industry, where the matrix could be for engagement rates or user satisfactions. The fifth one would be the operational optimizations. That's where all the repeated tasks and all those things are automated. It could be through text or through voice. So there's a lot of time saved, cost per interaction, and so on and so forth, brings a lot more efficiency into the organization. So these are very high level goals, but you start with a low hanging fruit and then start building on it. That's the best practice. So we'll come to that at a later stage, but these are mainly the type of goals in the industries would be looking for to automate with the help of a text or voice. So now the business objectives will be maybe to lead for a lead generation, or it could be for a customer support, or it could be for operational optimization. Typically, the way it happens is you first pick up your subject area where you would like to deploy a chatbot, and then you go through the automation process, which is the setting up of the environment and all the stuff with all the training, whatever is required, and then you continue optimizing it. The chatbots needs to be optimized, right? It cannot happen, everything cannot happen on the very first day. It has to be optimized. So that means the chatbot needs to be trained. Same like humans, right? When you hire somebody, there's a training period for that person to get to become a master of the work he or she is doing. The same with chatbot. More it's trained, more mature it becomes, more efficiently it handles problems. So this part of optimization is a continuous process. Typically, it will take 2 to 3 years sometimes for a chatbot to be completely matured. It again depends on the size of the organization, the volume of work it has to do, and so on and so forth. Say, for example, the volume of work or the knowledge a reception would have would be a lot lesser than what a doctor's knowledge would be, right? So the knowledge, but the good part of chatbot is you can feed the knowledge for receptionist or even as a for a doctor. It can handle anything, or even for a scientist. So the point here is the important piece which I'm trying to make here is it's the knowledge. The knowledge you're giving the chatbot, which we call it on the back end, the LLM models, gets the knowledge and it keeps getting trained. And as it keeps you're getting the training, it becomes more mature. So that's the concept of how you let the chatbot adopt to the circumstance. It will not happen overnight, but it's a process which one has to go through. But once trained, the good part is they don't resign, right? They don't resign, they don't retire, they don't ask for more money, nothing. So that's the plus side of a chatbot, where you don't have to worry about once the training is complete, you don't have to worry about the chatbot resigning and you are wasting a lot of time again to look for the new hire, right? So there's a huge hidden cost which gets saved behind the scenes. Sometimes, even for looking for people, looking for the right skills itself is a challenge, and especially if it is to do with um, senior level work, right? So, uh, chatbot here is a huge plus, irrespective of the knowledge, whether it's a senior person or a very knowledgeable person or whatever it is. It may take some time to educate the chatbot or train the chatbot with all the knowledge, but once trained, you don't have to worry. It will continue doing the same thing whenever it's required or asked for. So now typically when you look into the cost benefit analysis, of course we have a human cost and we also have an agent cost, right? Both are, there's a cost associated to it. But what I mentioned on the previous slide is it all depends again on the skill set. Like a rate of a receptionist cannot be the same as a rate of a doctor or a rate of a lawyer, right? So depending on the type of a job which the chatbot is expected to do, the rates are different for a human. But the good news is for an AI agent, the rate is still the same. It's $18 per minute, irrespective of the level of knowledge you are expecting from the chatbot. So it can serve as a receptionist, or it can serve also as a lawyer, it can serve as a doctor, it can serve as a senior person. So the knowledge here is still the same. The charges they do is per minute. So if the chatbot is talking to you per minute, it's going to charge you around 18 cents. So this will depend from one vendor to another, but this is roughly the charge which we have found out from from our research and implementations which we have done. So having said that, roughly you can calculate if you are expecting one person to call for you with every minute, you are spending 18 cents a minute. But the good news is he or she, the chatbot, will not take a rest. He doesn't have to go to do have a cup of tea or probably go to the restroom. So this agent will call one after another, one after another, one after another, depending on how you schedule it. You can ask the chatbot to start calling at 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock, and you can give that chatbot probably the next 20, 30 numbers to dial. So it will keep dialing one after another, no rests. But in case of human, we get tired, which is very natural, right? So we need to take a little bit of a break before we get into the next call. And as we get tired, the quality of call or the quality deteriorates, right? We all know we human beings, when we're doing the same thing, when we get tired, we cannot perform that much as the way a machine would have done. So having said that, there are a lot of plus benefits having an AI agent supporting you on your day-to-day business. It could be any business, as I say. But typically, if you're looking for a chatbot to support you with voice is the most popular one, you can calculate for 18 cents a minute. That will be a ballpark estimate. Okay, so again, here the skill level doesn't matter. It's the minute which you're using for every call. So typically what I do here is I would say that, okay, you know what, if I'm targeting to call 30 people and I'm averaging out to say 3 minutes per call, or I'm just making up a situation, it could be 3 minutes to a 4 minutes per call. So you already have your costing that to make 30 calls, if I'm doing 3 minutes per call or 4 minutes per call, how long will it take me to complete 30 calls? And remember, there's no break, right? It's a machine. Then, when you apply the cost, which is 18 cents per minute, you will be easily able to find out what will be the cost for an AI agent to make a call for you. Now you can compare that for with a human. The human being could be involved in a meeting, could be involved in lunch, could be involved in talking to somebody else. There will be lot of normal wastage of time. Lot. We all humans have wastage of time where we are not productive the way we expect to be. So if you calculate that, your hourly rate, if you're taking at around say $7.25, you can expect 30 to 35% wastage, right? So in an hour, if you calculate based on an hour, which is 60 minutes, maybe effectively you will be working for say 40 minutes. 20 minutes could be writing notes, talking to somebody, having a cup of coffee, or using the restroom, and so on and so forth. So there will be always a natural wastage which you have to calculate before you actually calculate the labor hours or the human cost. In case of chatbot, you don't have to do that. You plan it out that, okay, these are the 20, 30 calls I'll be making if you're doing an outbound call, and these are the numbers. You feed it into the system and it will start calling. You can put a scheduler and it will start calling exactly the time you want. No wastage. But in this agent, there is a setup cost. This setup cost can vary depending on the type of work you are expecting it to do, the type of work. So, of course, we come in and help you up with the setup cost, uh, which could be anything depending on whatever your needs are, and those could be a one-time cost. So I'll come back to the ROI part a little later, but that's one of the costs which you have to bear upfront, and then you come across with the maintenance cost. The 18 cents which I was talking about, this is more to do with the maintenance cost. That means every minute the chatbot is talking to somebody, you are paying the vendor 18 cents a minute. In addition, you are paying the setup cost. So we will come back to that a little later, but typically that's the way it will work. There's a development cost and then there is a maintenance cost. But in case of humans, I don't have to tell you, it's everything starts from the very first day from when you hire. Whether the person is going through a training or whether he is traveling or whatever, there is a cost associated to it. So in case of AI agents, you save all that cost. So typically, you're saving a lot on indirect cost, and we will come to that little later. So the best practices would be to define a clear objective when you have to implement a chatbot, understand your target audience, integrate with the existing systems, because you might be talking to Salesforce, or you might be talking to some other ERP systems, or you might be talking to Workday, whatever it is. So the integration part is something which comes under the setup cost, but once it's integrated, you're doing your day-to-day job every day without any hiccup, right? There is no holiday for a chatbot. There's no leave or vacation for a chatbot. In case of humans, if somebody is taking a leave, then you have to think about how to replace that person, because the person who was actually doing the job will not be available for the next 2 3 weeks. So those are type of headaches are all gone when you have a chatbot in front of you. And then finally, you design the intelligent conversation flow, which I will give you a clue of to what how the flow flows. I mean happens, and then you measure the performances and you keep optimizing. So it needs a training process. As I said, chatbots are not fully optimized on the very first day because every chatbot has a unique requirement, just the way you would have hired a human. Every organization has a unique requirement, right? And when you hire a person, you train the person. So the same holds for chatbot too. But after the person is trained, it becomes fully optimized. And that under that circumstance, that chatbot will never resign. You know that. So it is much more beneficial to have a chatbot for a long run than to have humans. Typically the way it looks like, and that's why I think that more of the industries now are all heading towards chatbots, because I think it's much more cost effective as we go through chatbots. So this is a typical conversational flow of one of the, these are technical, but I just wanted to give you a glimpse of the amount of work we have to do behind the scene to make it work. But on the front end, it doesn't look so complex. It's just you are having a conversation. So now typically this could be an ROI for a law firm. Okay, so the first year you might be implementing uh, and integrating all the training stuff which needs to go in. So maybe you can say that okay, you will be spending say $20,000 for a mid-sized company, law firm. The second and the third year is ongoing maintenance, and could probably that could be only $8,000 a year. So if you calculate for all the 3 years, maybe the first year, as I say, that you pick up the lowest hanging fruit, you get results out of it, and then get to the next step. So typically, if you are looking at the low hanging fruits within 1 to 2 months or maybe 3 months, you're already getting results out of the first phase of your low hanging fruit, whatever that is. So you are already recovering a part of it. So that's why even if your cost is 20,000, you can still say that okay, you are basically generating a revenue of 42,000, even assuming that you are spending 2 months for building it up. So in the next 10 months, you might be spending around 40, you might be making around 42,000 to recover that 20,000 which you have spent for the setup or the development cost. So you may be netting out in a profit, and eventually you get the cumulative return. So if you see the next year, your return, your revenue could be more as compared to the setting up cost, right? Because you don't have to keep setting it up again and again. Now from the second year onwards is nothing but it's a maintenance cost. So if you see the combination of these two, it is the cost, the net benefit is going up, and the cumulative profits are also increasing. So by the time you reach the third year, you're making around 111,000. So effectively, if you're looking into to 20 plus 8 plus 8, say like 36 or so. So spending $36,000, you're making $111,000 in return in 3 years. So that's the way you would look at it. Okay, so long run, it is always advantageous. So this will vary from farm to farm. So this is a law farm, but I have also taken examples of other two farms also. One is the manufacturing. It can be for any industry, as I said. So here, if you see the manufacturing, the first year of the revenue it generated was 43,000. Expected setup costs and all could be around 30,000. So you are taking a benefit of 13,000. So if you start taking the cumulative effect, keeping in mind that the next 2 years the maintenance costs would be around 8,000, you are making a revenue or cumulative profit of 52,000 and 95,000 year over year. So if you are looking at around 38 plus 8 plus 8, say 45,000, say 45, 46,000, you're getting a return of 95,000 on the third year itself. So as the years keep growing from fourth year, fifth year, sixth year, you'll notice that your chatbot is giving you much, much more better returns on investment. So the point here which I'm making is you will not make a phenomenal rate of return in the first 2, 3 years. But as you progress over the years, you'll see that the chatbots are giving a much better return on investments. The final one which I wanted to talk about is there could be scenarios, this is for a dentist, there could be scenarios where if you are a small farm, very small farm like a dentist, you might be landing up paying setup fees which will be higher than your first year. But don't get afraid because it's just the first year's loss which you're picking it up. I'm just making a scenario for you. But from the second year and the third year onwards, you're making money out of it, right? So the point here I'm making is under all circumstances, whether you're a big organization or a small organization, conversational chatbots will always be in the plus for you. Of course, there is setup fees which you have to pay because these engineering costs cannot be free. But you, you will have to bear that. Sometimes some organizations, in our my case, what we do is we also give you the benefit of residual services. Right, every month we can offer bits and pieces of work which gets done, and we spread this $22,000 over a period of 1 year. But if you're going on a basis of project base, maybe we try and finish this project maybe in 3 months, or depends again on the work, but that's the way we target to finish the project as early as possible so that you can keep going on your own. But if you feel that you have a cash flow problem, you can still call us. We can come and help you out. But we can probably, what we can do is we will, the costing, we cannot compromise on the cost, but we can spread this cost over a period of time, maybe say 12 months. And then the following month onwards, following year onwards, maybe we can charge you a very nominal fees of $5,000 across 12 months. So under all circumstances, you'll be getting a benefit of cost, you'll be getting a benefit of your cash flow, and we will try and accommodate with your needs. So this is at a very high level. This is the way we could probably look at the costing part of it. So under all circumstances, chatbot is going to give you value. So don't back off, because if you back off today, it'll be too late for you tomorrow, because your competitors will all come up with chatbots. So you will probably might be left behind. So don't get scared. We will help you with your cash flow if you're a small organization. And if you're a big organization, I don't have to talk about this at all. It's not applicable. But if you're a small organization and you find it difficult, please let us know. We will come up with a pricing plan for you. And of course, we will not be able to deliver everything within the first 2 months. Maybe we will spread it over 12 months and continue giving you whatever you need for your chatbot development. So, having said that, the takeaway would be every industry, big or small, will benefit from AI agents. The ROI may differ from by different industries, as I have just explained. Return on investments will be different depending on the type of industry you are in, the type of people. So again, it's a lot to do with what is your demand, what is your business, right? How often you are using repeated tasks, how many people you feel that chatbot can be replaced. So all those components will make a compound difference to your ROI. The third point which I wanted to make is text AI agents and conversational agents would depend again on the industry. Remember, I was trying to show you about the type of industries. So that again would basically come up from the point of what type of industry you are in, where a conversational AI would be useful versus a text. So you can make that call, and then we can take the steps accordingly. So if you have Q&A, feel free to get in touch with me. You can always connect through website. You can schedule a calendar, and I can always come back and answer more questions and more answers, questions you might have, to help you understand and to go through the transition of having a chatbot. Of course, it's a difference. It's a process. It's a new process, new technology, new things, but we have to adapt to changes so that we are beneficial in the long run. Not doing now and keeping it on the hold could be a risk to your business, and that is not recommended, because chatbots will give a much better user experience. I don't have to wait for 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get an appointment or ask for a question and get an answer to that. So, having said that, my experience at the end of the day will be much more better if I'm using a chatbot. So, having said that, I will leave the demo open for my viewers to come back to me with Q&As if there are any, and we can take it from there. Thank you for you listening me out. And at the same time, I appreciate you trying to hear me out. I'm not a very good presenter, but I just tried to put the points across so that you understand the benefit and the value propositions you might get from a chatbot. Thank you once again.